Alright, hello and welcome to another ComfyUI tutorial. Today we're going to be covering how to build modular workflows like the one I have here. This is not what we're going to be working on. This is an example of what a modular workflow can become, like how complex and how much stuff you can have in them. And, it's just kind of an example of what we're kind of aiming for. By the end of this, you'll have a workflow where you've got all of these little nodes that do little things and stuff like that. And, the reason that I want to show modular workflows to people is because when a lot of people first start doing ComfyUI, they start with the default workflow. And the default workflow, unfortunately, is a linear workflow. It's not modular. It's not designed in a way that makes it easy to work with in terms of making advanced systems. It's designed to do one thing, and that's to make a single image. And so when people learn using this as a basis, what you get is people who plug everything in directly to individual nodes. So you'll have everything plugged in all the way back here at the start of your load checkpoint. You'll have everything plugged into the clip thinger, so you'll have multiple case samples all plugged back into this one. You'll have weird things where you've got stuff placed over here and things so that everything is accessible in one place for the person working on it. And then you get these big tangles of noodles because it's not laid out in a way that makes it easy to work with. And because of that, I want to teach people how they can actually lay it out so that it doesn't become a ball of spaghetti and doesn't become a problem, and it allows you to make use of some more advanced things to do with ComfyUI that you won't have access to if you use a tangled kind of setup. It allows you to make use of bypassing. It allows you to make use of the pipe system for impact pack, or there's another one. Anyway, basically, if you have a modular workflow, you have access to a whole lot more power to work with than you do with a normal workflow. When it comes to fixing issues with your workflow as well, and sharing with other people, it's so much easier to do because people will open it and they don't have a huge amount of trouble figuring out what's doing things and what's doing what, and where a problem might be, because everything becomes located in kind of small sections of your workflow instead of spread out across large sections of the workflow in kind of like a tree format. Instead, you have everything divided into small sections, as in this one. This one, and each one of these boxes contains a specific process, a specific task. And if we teach you how to build each of your systems in this kind of way, then you can actually create something really, really powerful. I may as well zoom in on what we got here. This one. This particular module, for example, it's a really simple one. It's one of my older modules. It's something I've had around for a while. It makes gradients, and it chooses a random gradient, and then it sends the random gradient on. So it brings in just the height and the width of the image you're working with, and then it sends out the gradient as an image to be used however you want elsewhere in the workflow, which means you could use it in more than one place. You could use it however you want, but it works by itself. It can be completely disabled or removed from the workflow if you're not using it, or plugged back in and it works. But there's some really powerful stuff you can do. That's not just the only thing. You can do all kinds of stuff with modules. So we go back to the default thing. You can see that it's linear. It's set up so that we start on the left, we go to the right, and that everything is plugged in, in a generally haphazard way. Now, if we want to turn this into a modular version of this, it's not that hard. And I'll explain to you roughly how a module works first. So a module essentially mirrors a case sampler. So in a module, generally, it's just like with the case sampler node. You bring in information on the left-hand side and you send out information on the right-hand side. So you bring in all the model stuff, the positive and negative prompt, the latent image, anything related to any of these that you've set as an input, bring that all in on the left, and it outputs whatever it outputs. And it makes the changes and does the action in here. Now, a module could include a big system of case samples that do a certain thing with an upscale and a bunch of other stuff. But it still outwardly, in the entire group, kind of mirrors the way that the case sampler works. So if we wanted to make a module, we would add, group, and then we'll add abilities, reroute, and we'll add a couple of these. So if we were to make a case sample as kind of a module, it would look like this, right? So you've got the information comes in on the left and leaves on the right. And if we plug this actually in the way that you would plug this in a module, it goes like this, and there you go. You've got yourself a little module. And it's kind of a silly module because it only does one thing, but if you wanted to. Now, if you wanted to kind of expand this up and make something a bit more useful, you can change some more stuff. So you keep this output because you want to be able to output stuff, but you might want to add another one. So say you want to do VAD code. So let's run VAD code. Now we're outputting an image and a latent, and we could plug in either one if we wanted to. We need a V now in here, which we didn't need before. So we add another input over here. And we plug in this. Now, if we wanted to make it more neat, we might reroute it as well. Because, you could reroute it, you set it up like this, and it'll work. And you could probably run a preview in this corner as well. And there you go. Now you've got a little case sampler group, which includes a VAD code function and a preview. And it's in one little module. Now, what if you wanted to go even further than this? If you wanted to add even more? Well, to make this even more expansive, you just keep expanding this out. See how I'm working on it a lot like I would with a regular workflow. I'm working on just an individual component of the larger workflow here. So if anything goes wrong, I know it's probably related to everything within this box as well. If you're ever doing this kind of stuff and building these workflows, it actually becomes really easy to debug it at this stage, because anything goes wrong, it's probably where you just change stuff. So you don't have to look everywhere else to find a problem. You just look in here and you go, okay, it's probably in here. So if we want to go even further with this, let's grab another case sampler, put VAD code over here, preview here, and we'll bring this down a bit more. Now I'll get rid of this stuff because we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to keep these because the final output we're going to be using is going to be probably this. Oops, we'll grab you. Preview. Okay, so I need access to this same stuff again. And in this module I have two case samplers. So do I really want the wires going through everything underneath everything else? Not really. So if I copy this stuff out again. Now I make use of this method of rerouting things. If you are using Impact Pack, there is an option of using the from basic pipe and to basic pipe, which allow you to combine information into a single line rather than running multiple like how I'm doing. WASsuit also has recently added another one, like a similar thing. Which is actually a little bit more usable than the Impact Pack one. I kind of wish the Impact Pack one did it the same way. but can't have everything we want. All right, so plugged in that, and let's plug. Actually, I may as well show you this while I'm at it. You can click on these and you can add a node. Reroute. If you click on that middle dot, you can just add a reroute from there if you want. All right, so please be straight today. Workflow line. I wish I could just like press a button and it snaps everything to the current grid. One of the hazards of working with groups. Okay. Now I can drag this out as well. Grab that over here, plug that into Vey, and there you go. We've got two thingos, but they're not connected properly yet. This will just generate two images. So if we want to actually make use of this, you know, more like how you probably would, go upscale latent by. And there you go. Now this is basically doing the high res fix. Run this at something like 52-ish. I don't generally upscale by 50. I usually go about 120. The higher the upscale in a high res fix kind of thing, the more likely it's going to be a bit messed up in the process. I generally keep upscale a little bit lower on that. All right, so now it is running through here, and it has its own little kind of path of information up here. And this is what's called a bus. Now, what I have down here is actually something that we need in the rest of the workflow as well. And the reason we use this is because it allows us to pass information that we would need further down the line. Instead of going all the way back and wiring things at the start. So instead of wiring everything to these nodes and having cables going under everything else, I use reroutes to change where the information is available to me. And in keeping this all within this module, within this group, I can now drag this wherever I want in my workflow. So I have successfully now created a module for the case sampler part of the basic load default thing. I'm going to remove that because I don't really need to save stuff. I'll remove that. Now let's focus on this bit here. So load is pretty simple. Typically it can go in with these nodes. Don't necessarily always want to include the prompt in with your loaders because all right, so let's go and cover this stuff now. So this is the loader section of your workflow. It's the part which starts everything running. It's the part which runs, without which you cannot make any images. So, it loads your model. Let's use Real Vision. The clip text encode is kind of vital to things and stuff like that. So we're including the positive and negative one. I'm going to change the color because I always do. And I generally would include a latent, empty latent with this as well. And everything in here produces everything we need over here as well. So it produces everything we need for the this bus thing here. So now we just have to wire it in kind of a semi-sensible way. Now the cool thing about prompt text kind of nodes, you don't really need to make them gigantic. I like to lay these things out in a way that kind of makes a little bit of sense. So if we run all this over here like so, we can effectively build our bus over here as well. And we'll grab this too. Wrong thing. Okay. So we've just created this kind of weird little setup here. Now if I was bringing any information into this kind of setup, I would probably be having reroutes on the left-hand side somewhere. So if I decided that, and this is something I commonly do, which is to run stuff from a text box instead, so I can use a text box in more than one place, I would probably have this rerouted in from somewhere else where I actually generate that in another module, so with random wildcards or whatever. I would probably have that kind of stuff. I'm just going to check and see if I have a random wildcard to use. I might have one in my node templates. Location generator, yeah, that'll do. All right, free module. Add group. Stick it, yeah, and now we have a module. That's a really powerful thing to be aware of, by the way, the node templates. You have to click on the background and right click on the background to get access to it, and you have to select like a whole group of nodes and then right click on the background to gain access to it, which allows you to copy and save chunks of your workflow to be used again. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on groups, which is kind of disappointing. It would make my life easier. Okay, this one is very simple. It generates a phrase which says, creates a location for our prompt. So inside a deserted empty parkland, inside a blah, outside a blah, and then it will randomly generate these things using a few words. So here I'm generating the phrase, here I'm generating the kind of descriptive thing for it, and here I'm generating the actual location itself in the bottom one. Just so you know what it's doing. And I may as well, we're going to need a subject for this, so let's add another one in here. We may as well add one day I will have my hands able to, yeah, we go. Okay, I got it. Very good. And is there a free concatenate? No, there's not. So let's add another one. Okay, and we'll extend this a little bit to make it all fit together. So what I've just done is, this is the random generation section, and in this little prompt here, I've added a little thing where I can just manually put a subject, and it is sticking it to the front of the list so that when this generates, it will now have a person or something in the front of that. So if I just say a giant red alien standing alone, and then when I do this, it should just generate. Hang on, I'll just generate as it is. Giant red alien standing alone outside a cold, dark parkland. Yeah, that works for me. All right. So now we are generating the prompt, and we can send it right over here. And the difference between a standard module like this kind of setup over here, which requires a whole bunch of this stuff, stuff like the prompt usually connects to the loader itself rather than to the bus. And I'll show you how to build a bus, which is pretty much already did over here. Can I just copy these? Yes, I can. So as I said, if you've got WAS suite or you've got Impact Pack, there is options for this, which mean you don't have to gradually wire up a bus the way I'm currently doing. And as I said before, the bus is basically, it's a highway of information for your workflow. It carries everything through, and if you change anything and you want to use it in line with everything else, you just plug it back into the bus. So it carries information wherever you're going to need it, basically. That's its job. Now, the other thing that I generally do with a bus is I put it in a group. Let me just this here. I spent a lot of time adjusting where things are. Don't worry, it's fine. I'm not OCD. Okay, right, so now we have a bus sitting in this group here. We have a loader module over here. We have a little thing to generate a prompt for us. And over here we have the K sampler. Now the reason that we are replicating this stuff in here is because if we can plug this in one place. So it's unlikely that I can accidentally get in the way of this as long as this remains plugged in one place. So I can't do something and plug it into this bus in between here unless I really, really want to, because it's replicating it in here instead of copying and plugging in the other sampler into somewhere along here. Which I could do, but if I do that, then obviously I can have problems. And if we do it this way, it saves us a lot of work when it comes to reorganizing the workflow if we have to do that at some point. And what else? Okay. So now this is plugged in, and as you can see, it's plugged in one place. I'm not running stuff underneath anything here. There's not any tangle going on. There's a little bit of ickiness going on in here with tangles of things a little bit, which could be fixed with some scaling and maybe some minimizing of nodes and that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, you can see how super organized it kind of looks from doing this stuff. And if we generate this, it should generate an image if I did everything right and I didn't break anything. Okay, generating a red alien. That's good. Probably make this module a little bit bigger so we can increase the size of the. Alright, so final image is this. Now, as you can see, works the same as that original default one except for the additional little bit of upscaling we're doing in here, and the prompt generation stuff. But generally, it's kind of based off the same stuff. It's a very simple kind of layout. And the advantage of this is if I want to add more stuff, I want to add more complexity, I want to change things, I want to add things like control net and IP adapter and whatever, like anything else you can be wanting to run, LoRa or whatever. All you have to do is make this longer and add more segments to it. In order to increase the complexity, you just keep extending this along and then you just plug more stuff into it. And instead of rewiring the entire thing to change a couple of things, you're just rewiring inside the modules. Now there's one other cool thing I'm going to show you about these. If you are running this kind of a setup, because these basically are like a K-sampler node, they're set up information on the left and out on the right, or any other node really. Because they're set up that way, you can actually treat these the same way. So normally on a big, complex, messy kind of workflow, you can't really make proper use of bypassing. And bypassing is where you can select a node and press Control B, and then anything which would run in here doesn't run, but anything which is sent to this passes through it. So the empty latent that comes from here is going to pass straight through this to the next sampler. And because of that, this can be a really good way of turning off bits of your workflow you don't want to run. In the case of a modular workflow, because this is so condensed and so controllable over what plugs into where, you can just select the whole segment and go, and then it won't run the module at all. It'll run the rest of the workflow and it won't run this. And if you plug, say, if I plugged the empty latent back into here, it would just pass empty all the way through. So, yeah, pretty kind of powerful kind of thing to be making use of. And as you can see, there's some benefits for it being more organized and easy to see what's doing what. Hopefully that helps you with a good way of laying out your own workflows. which you may not have seen and may not really have got a handle on. May as well show you. I'll show you the bus. I'll show you the bus. There's a bus node. Wassuit has this from basic pipe and thick pipe, and this is the impact one, which does kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit more fiddly. And these basically plug in the same way. You plug in everything from your bus into this, and then you can just pass one line of information instead of rewiring over and over again all those things. You just wire it once, and then when you need them you break it out. And impact pack is the same way. So, yeah, hopefully this has helped. I'm going to be doing some tutorials soon where I cover just doing modules, so small components, like what some of the things from in here, for example, gradients. I'm going to be showing how to generate noise, loading different things, batch loading stuff. I'm going to be showing, you know, the random generation of locations and stuff. What else have I got? Image analysis. I've got, you know, LoRa's, control net, all that kind of stuff. And I'll put all these things in small tutorials. So they're probably not going to be like 20 minutes long or something. Maybe 10 minutes long. But anyway, hopefully this is useful to you. Thank you for watching. I will have more videos out soon-ish. Been a little bit busy in health things and stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching.